I want to take a really close look at this upcoming character in Shadow of the Erdtree. My initial reaction when I saw it in the trailer was that it reminded me of a Chinese lion dance costume. And as I looked more into this, I am now fully convinced that this was indeed a correct assumption, and we are absolutely getting a lion dance inspired boss, which is super cool. And there are a lot of tiny little details hidden in this one clip, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of dissect it together and take a really close investigative look. And yeah, let's go ahead and start with the visual design. In the first scene, you see a hand reach up from beneath to lift the jaw, and there are a pair of legs here as well. This next shot gives us a full body view, and if you outline the figure, you can see one person in front, that's the one holding the head, and you can see another person behind, and they are both in a wide-legged stance. The hands, arms, and feet look to be human, or at least humanoid, and in each scene where you can sneak a peek at these appendages, nothing too unusual sticks out about them. But if you compare them to the player model, it looks like these two figures are huge. Just one leg alone seems to be much larger than the player. I noticed that the hands have very pointy nails, just like Mesmer's, which is just an observation about nail care because I don't think this necessarily means that they're related. I just thought the framing of this hand coming up and Mesmer's hand coming down was interesting, considering they both had very similar looking hands and nails. The multiple limbs we can see here obscured under this red draped cloak is a little reminiscent of the grafted scions, and I wonder if this boss is supposed to be a tiny callback to those. So while the arms and the legs look humanoid, the teeth definitely do not. First of all, there are two sets of teeth here, and the inner teeth are very uniform and they number way more than the 32 that appear in human mouths. They do actually kind of look like the teeth of lion costumes, and here you can see a performer hiding in the headpiece, which makes me wonder if right here behind the eyes is the face of our top half guy. We also have another row of teeth, and these are connected to the lion head. And it appears as if our mysterious pair is wearing a costume consisting of a lion's pelt, or at least the head of lion's pelt, and then the rest of it is armor and this red draped robe. When I first saw this shot, I questioned if it might possibly be the discarded pelt of Sarosh. After Godfrey killed him to reacquire his full strength, maybe he just tossed the pelt aside and these two numbskulls found it and repurposed it. But the lion pelt here has very noticeable horns all over its head and its back, and this is something that Sarosh does not have. The YouTube channel Bonfire VN has a really cool video where they isolated the Sarosh model and they showed off all of the details about it, took apart the mane, and comparing our lion dance boss here to Sarosh kind of puts a hole in this theory. For one, Sarosh has a couple of distinct facial scars, and again, he doesn't have any horns. And while it does have the same long white mane, the Lion Guardians also have this mane, and unlike Sarosh, the Lion Guardians actually do have horns, similar to our boss here. So I'm more leaning toward the idea that this lion might just be related to the other lions in general, and not necessarily a shadow version of Sarosh. Horns are a very significant theme in Elden Ring. They are one of the 4 aspects of the Crucible, which are breath, horns, tail, and wings. And these, of course, are all characteristics of dragons, and they're also featured in other Crucible-touched beings like the Omen, the Misbegotten, and lions. I have a theory that the lions, who were once a proud symbol of conquest for Godfrey, were later imprisoned and had their horns sawed off after Godfrey was banished, and when all the aspects of the Crucible were basically made illegal, to sum it up very briefly. But seeing as how we do have this existing premise of lions having horns, this explains the horns on our new guy. And these horns are completely untouched and they look very healthy and numerous, which is a jarring contrast to the sawed-off nubs that we see on the lions in the lands between. If we go back to this inner row of teeth, I initially considered if they were misbegotten teeth because the misbegotten also have very uniform and very plentiful teeth. And seeing as how misbegotten also feature aspects of the crucible, I thought that this could be related to them. These two entities might be a Shadowland version of the misbegotten, and maybe this is our guy's actual teeth. Even though I like this idea and the teeth do look very similar, the hands and the feet, especially the feet, they do not look like misbegotten feet at all. And in this last scene, the jaw is extremely hyperextended and it looks rather flat. So I'm not sure if the inner teeth are actually connected to a live being at all. There is one character in Elden Ring that features teeth inside lion's teeth, and that would be Radon. And his helmet here shows a lion's mouth agape. And I think this was inspired by Alexander the Great's lion helmet that is featured on the Alexander sarcophagus. I don't think this boss is related to the design of this helmet or anything. I mean, it might be. Maybe this is like a deep cut reference to Radon, but I doubt it. I just wanted to point out that it's not exactly the first time we've seen these type of nesting doll teeth arrangements. The armor in the front looks like some kind of tassets, which is these armored plates that were meant to protect the thighs. And this design on the bottom plate looks like maybe wind or swirls and a flower or a sun. It looks unique. I wasn't able to find anything existing that looks similar, but if you know of something, please point it out. And then we have what looks like to be pauldrons on the shoulders and a collared neck piece with bronze branches or roots, maybe antlers. In this shot, you can most clearly see the design on the neck piece, and it kind of looks like it might be a tree. So I'm wondering if it is a tree, and if so, is it the shadow tree that we see in the trailer? The eyes appear to glow, but I'm not sure if that's just a reflective type of metal. It kind of looks like it might be a hammered metal as well. I considered the possibility of them being mirrors because in traditional lion's dance costumes, they have a mirror in the middle of the forehead to ward off evil spirits. In some shots, it definitely looks like the eyes are glowing, but I don't think I have enough to go on about the eyes. They are just they're very peculiar in their appearance. So that covers the visual design of this guy. Let's move on to the actual lion dance connection. The lion dance is a very old Chinese tradition that goes back thousands of years that has since been adopted by other Asian cultures, and it is still performed today in traditional ceremonies and for important events. Each costume is operated by two people. One person operates the head, which opens the eyes and the mouth, and the other person operates the tail end. And as we've seen in our outlined figures, one person is indeed operating the head movements, and the other is crouched down behind them. So we effectively here have the head and the tail. A traditional lion dance will typically tell the story of the lion overcoming an obstacle to receive an award at the end. And these obstacles are things like poisonous animals, dangerous rivers or caves. They can even be other lions. And since it looks like this takes place in some kind of arena or outdoor venue, I wonder if the motivation behind this boss fight will be something similar, a performance in which the lion, our boss here, overcomes its obstacle. In this case, that would be the tarnished. The tricks performed by the lion dancers are called stacks, and this is where the person in the tail end will lift the person in the head end in extremely impressive acrobatic moves. And looking at footage of stacks in action, it absolutely looks like our boss here is employing the same kind of moveset. In this scene, you can see the top person's hand holding the jaw to operate what looks like a death sorcery spell, and here is the bottom of their feet. And it looks like they then jump on the back of the tail end figure, successfully performing what looks like a variation of a head stack. There are 3 moves that we see in the trailer, the first being a lunging bite, and the lions also do this move. The second looks like it's some sort of death incantation, something that no doubt inflicts death blight And while the lions in general don't have this move, there is an exception with the lions at Castle Sol. Those lions actually do have a breath spell that inflicts frost. The third move is a lightning incantation, and you can see here in slow motion the jaws hyperextending before they snap shut, catching a bolt of lightning in its teeth, which it then seems to hurl or toss to the side, and this looks very similar to the lightning spear. The background of the scene looks like it takes place in some sort of courtyard or arena stadium. There are lots of curtains and they're twisted in this ornamental way. They actually match the spiral pillars that we see a lot of in other parts of the trailer. And this arena looks like it's within the walls of a much taller building, maybe a castle, and the surrounding trees are all dead, withered, moss-covered, which makes me wonder if it takes place in the swamp location that we see earlier in the trailer. Even though this city looks like it could be the location just based on the size and the height, I don't see any dead trees around here, signifying that it's the same place. The statues in the background appear to be lions as well, and this could be a reference to the Chinese guardian lion statues. These are usually placed at entrances of imperial palaces and different government buildings, restaurants in front of wealthy homes, and they usually come in a pair. This image is way too tiny to be certain, and I'm not sure if I'm just seeing lions because I want to see lions, but they kind of look like they could be. I'm leaning towards the theory that they are lion statues because there's another scene in the trailer where you can see two lion statues, and that is briefly during the butterfly scene. These statues also have horns like our boss here. And I suspect that this location might be related to where the lion dance boss takes place because it has the same kind of withered tree and overhanging dead moss or wisteria here. The statues on top look like they could be the Ratigan statues in the game. I call them the Ratigan statues because I find it fits his transformation from warrior to scholar, but it's impossible to tell with this resolution. It's so blurry, I can't really see for sure. It looks like it's a veiled or cloaked figure. Someone left a comment on my last video about the possibility of these two performers being twins, and I think that's a really cool idea considering how prevalent twins are in the game, and the bodies certainly look the same, but knowing FromSoft, if I had to guess, I don't think we're actually going to get to see what's under the cloak. We're not going to get to see the faces of these guys until a modder takes the asset from a game and does a face reveal for them. And that's pretty much it. I feel like I've gone over most everything in this small clip to see what we could find. And I had such a fun time working on this video because I got to learn so much about the lion dance costume and the tradition, the making of it. And it was so fun watching all of the videos, the intense acrobatic moves and whatnot. And imagine that if this lion dance costume is indeed the inspiration for the enemy that we see here, the designers and the developers must have had a blast watching all of this footage so that they could put together their own choreography for this enemy. So it's such a cool, unique design, and I'm excited to see how accurate all of this is once we actually get to find out what this boss is. If you enjoyed watching this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get back into YouTube's good graces and get back on the algorithm and blah, 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 blah. Big thank you, of course, to my channel members, whom I can never forget. Thank you so much for supporting me every month. I really appreciate it, you guys. And if you would like to sign up, you can do so on my channel page. All right, guys, thanks again for watching my video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.